Hello everyone, Jacob here. I want to start this video a little bit differently. I'm going to read from the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius real fast. And the topic of this video is going to be on dealing with anxiety. And something I've been feeling strong lately. And I turn to things like this whenever I feel anxiety at its true strength and are trying to find ways to overcome it. So this first passage, it is in the last book, which I believe is the 10th or it's the 12th book of Marcus Aurelius Meditations. Okay, and it goes like this. It is high time for thee to understand that there is somewhat in thee better and more divine than either thy passions or thy sensual appetites and affections. What is now the object of my mind? Is it fear or suspicion or lust or any such thing? To do nothing rashly without some certain end, let that be thy first care. The next, to have no other end than the common good. For alas, yet a little while, and thou art no more will any, either of those things that now thou seest, or of those men that now are living, be any more. For all things are by nature appointed soon to be changed, turned, and corrupted, that other things might succeed in their room. Okay, and I know that's old English or whatever, and it's not a common use of words and phrasings that we normally use, especially in America. But to elaborate on what this is saying, when you're in these times of anxiety, and like it said, suspicion, fear, lust, whatever it is, to remember that these passions that are overcoming your mind, and especially anxiety and things like depression and fear of what people think and how things are going to turn out. What Marcus Aurelius turns to is, he says to understand that there's somewhat in thee better and more divine than your passions, right? And it's to remember that there is divinity within you. Okay, and once you realize that, and once that really sinks in to your heart, and you realize that everything going around you has this spark of divinity within it, because first off, what is going on, right? No one knows, and everyone has religion and spirituality to kind of turn to, like this following of faith of what is going on. But no matter what you believe, there is divinity within every one of us, and there is divinity within every day that is brought before us. And unfortunately, our culture and our world right now really pushes things that cause anxiety and lust and suspicion and fear and all of these things. And whenever you feel these strongly and they start to shut down your life, it's really important that you remember that there is divinity within you. And the next thing that he goes into here, to do nothing rashly without some certain end, that is your first care. Do not do something that you will regret in the future. And the next one is to have no other end than the common good. And what he's saying here is that while you fear these things, all you should be focusing on is not making decisions that you'll regret, and just trying to make decisions that lead to the common good, that are good decisions to make. You don't always have to be going 1,000% and doing everything right and doing everything perfect, or what people think you should be doing, or whatever it is. You just want to make sure that you're doing things that point towards the common good. And he goes further into this. He says, for at last, yet in a little while, you will be no more. And no more will any of those things that you are thinking about right now, that fear, that anxiety, that lust, whatever it is, that will also be no more. And those men that are now living will also be no more, right? And what he's saying here is, everything that you're worried about right now is not going to exist in the future. You will be forgotten. Everyone around you will be forgotten. Everything that is going on right now eventually will be no more, right? And with knowing that your only responsibility is to do things that point towards the common good. Get rid of fear, get rid of anxiety, get rid of these passions that seem to tear your heart down, to tear your soul down, and just move forward knowing that the only purpose of right now is to do things towards the common good. And, elaborating further on what he just said, in a different passage in the 7th book, which is my personal favorite book in Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which, by the way, this is one of my favorite books of all time. Probably, top 3 or so. But going into this next one, it says, 7th book, section 5, it says, "For as for praise, consider how many who were once commended are now already quite forgotten. Yet they that commended them, how many of those people are also forgotten? Be not therefore ashamed whensoever thou must use the help of others." Right? And I point back to this because, first of all, to remember that everything that we're doing, the society of America and 2020 and all of these things that we're doing, everyone's trying to, create this identity and this ego and trying to build a legacy and all of these things. But you have to remember that, the only route to take is towards the common good, because eventually everything will return to dust. Everything will return to the source in which it came, right? Everything will return to the nothingness of space, to the universe, the stillness of the river, right? It's going to return to the baseline of consciousness. And consciousness has no identity, it has no ego, it just is, right? And, when you think about that, in terms of anxiety and things that I'm dealing with, personally, I'm working on this website and trying to do so much to help and build and create during this time that I'm starting to overwhelm myself, and I'm getting fearful of if I'm going to do it well enough, or if I'm ready, or whatever it is, and, to turn back and to remember that, the only responsibility is to do good, and regardless of if people judge you or condemn you or praise you, it doesn't matter anyways, because your only responsibility is to do good, and all of this will be forgotten. So all you can add is more benefit towards the human race. It kind of takes away that fear of not being good enough or not being ready enough, but more so brings in that confidence and that strength of sharing and building those around you. Okay, so, what I want to share with this video is, remember that there's divinity inside of you, and use that. Point towards the common good, build with it, and every time you feel fear and anxiety, temptation, whatever it is, try and push away from that, find the stillness of being, and realize that there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be anxious about. Everyone that you think is judging you, they're probably not. Everything that's going on inside your head will soon not be a problem anymore. So just ride through it and return back to the common good. That's what I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I'll be back with a video tomorrow. Thank you guys.